You ever been out there, alone on a highway past midnight, when the road feels like it just keeps going, stretching further than it should? The air is still, the sky's empty, and all you can hear is the hum of your engine and the faint crackle of static from a radio station that's barely hanging on. That kind of silence, the kind that presses against the glass, has a way of making you realize just how far away you are from everything. No streetlights, no houses, no gas stations, just the long black road, and you... At first it's peaceful, almost comforting. But then your headlights catch something, just for a split second. Something that shouldn't have been there. A figure at the edge of the road, pale, motionless. You blink and it's gone. You try to convince yourself it was nothing. A shadow, a trick of the light. You keep driving, but now, every shape in the dark looks like a person. Every reflection in your mirror feels like it's moving just a little too late. You tell yourself you're being paranoid, that you've been driving too long. You roll down the window to let the cold air hit your face, trying to shake it off. But that's when you notice it, the smell. Not exhaust, not oil, something else, something metallic and faintly sweet. It lingers for a few seconds before the wind takes it. You glance at your rearview mirror again and your chest tightens. There's a pair of headlights behind you way back. You hadn't seen them before. At first it's fine, someone else on the road. But then you notice they're not getting closer. They're not fading away either, just there. Keeping perfect distance, no matter how fast you go, it's like they're pacing you. You tap the brakes to see if they'll react, nothing. The lights just hover there, constant and steady, as if whoever's driving knows exactly what you're doing. Your phone has no signal. The GPS froze 10 miles ago. And now, that stretch of asphalt feels endless. You start counting the mile markers just to remind yourself you're still moving forward. 131, 132, 133. You glance back again, no headlights. They're gone. Relief hits you for a moment, but it's short-lived because the road ahead suddenly curves, and there it is. That same car. Parked sideways across the lane, hazard lights flashing in the dark. You slam the brakes, heart pounding. You can't see anyone inside. You can't see anyone at all. Just the faint glow of those blinking lights, cutting through the fog that wasn't there a minute ago. And in that silence, with the engine ticking, the smell returns. Stronger this time. You reach for the door lock, but you don't remember unlocking it in the first place. Out here, miles from anyone who'd ever hear you scream, you realize something terrifying. The highway doesn't belong to you after dark. It belongs to the things that wait for people who think they're alone. And tonight, it's been waiting for you. The highway has a sound to it that most people never notice. It's not the wind or the tires, it's something quieter. Something that moves just under the noise. It's the hum that comes when the world forgets you're there. The kind that makes the air feel heavier, like it's watching. You can drive for hours and never see another car, and that's when it hits you. You're somewhere no one would ever think to look. The kind of place where even time slows down to listen. The asphalt stretches on like a ribbon of black glass, cutting through nothing but fields and shadows. The moon keeps slipping behind thin clouds, and the only light you trust is what your headlights give you. They reach just far enough to show you what's in front of you, but never enough to show you what's waiting beyond. It's that kind of distance, the kind that makes you feel small, the kind that makes you start to wonder if you've been driving in circles, if you've passed that same broken sign or that same twisted tree before. There's a strange beauty to it too, the loneliness, the cold, the way fog crawls across the road like something alive. But beauty turns uneasy fast when you realize how easy it would be to disappear out here. You start thinking about the people who never made it home, the ones who broke down on the shoulder and never got their engine started again, the ones who saw something in the distance and thought, I should check that out. Every mile marker becomes a countdown you can't quite explain. The radio slips between static and half sentences, voices that sound too close to be from a tower. You keep the volume low, but not off. Complete silence feels wrong, too empty, too exposed. The kind of silence that feels like it's listening back. The steering wheel vibrates faintly beneath your fingers, and every sound inside the car becomes amplified. The creak of the seat, the soft rattle of the window, the faint hum of your own breathing. You catch yourself staring into the mirror longer than you should, not to check the road behind you, but to make sure nothing's sitting in the back seat. Then there's the smell again, damp air mixed with that metallic tang, faint but familiar like blood on cold metal. You try to roll the window down, but the button sticks halfway and now the glass won't move. The air feels trapped inside the car, heavy with something that shouldn't be there. And just when you think you're imagining it all, the fog parts for a second. You see tire marks swerving off the road, deep into the dirt, vanishing into a ditch where the moonlight doesn't reach. There's a broken guardrail, a shoe, and then nothing. You grip the wheel tighter and keep driving, eyes fixed on the road, pretending you didn't see it. Because out here, pretending might be the only thing keeping you safe. It always starts the same way. Someone's on their way home late at night, tired but calm, the kind of tired that makes the world feel soft and distant. The road ahead is empty, the lines flicking past like clockwork. They think it's just another drive, another few hours until a warm bed, but somewhere between one town and the next, the world changes, quietly, without warning. And once you cross that invisible line, you're not really on your own road anymore. The first story came from a trucker who'd been hauling supplies across state lines for years. He'd seen everything the highway could throw at him, fog thick as concrete, storms that turned the sky black. But one night, he saw something he couldn't explain, a woman on the shoulder waving for help. He pulled over. She looked lost, her dress torn, her face pale in the headlights. She said her car had broken down a few miles back. He offered her a ride. She sat quietly for most of it, hands folded in her lap, staring straight ahead. But when he stopped at the next rest area to let her out, the seat beside him was empty. The only thing left was the faint imprint of where she'd been sitting, and a wet handprint on the inside of the window. The next morning, police told him a woman had died on that stretch of road years ago, hit by a passing car while trying to wave someone down. The second story comes from a college student driving home for the holidays. It was past midnight, snow falling hard. He saw headlights behind him, getting closer, brighter, almost too bright. He thought the driver was trying to pass, but every time he sped up, the lights matched him. Every time he slowed down, they stayed right there. When he finally pulled off the road, the lights did too, only a few feet behind him. He stepped out, ready to confront whoever it was. But the second he opened his door, the lights vanished. No car, no sound. Just snow swirling in the air and the echo of his own heartbeat in the dark. Another came from a man whose car broke down just after sunset. He waited for hours, hoping someone would stop. Ahead was just dirt and gravel. No tire tracks, no footprints, just silence. These stories don't have clear endings. They never do. The people who tell them don't look for attention, they don't want fame, they just want to tell someone what they saw so they can sleep again. But if there's one thing these stories have in common, it's this. Every one of them happened on a stretch of highway most people drive past without a second thought. And every one of them ends the same way. Someone realizing that not everyone on the road is alive. Suspense doesn't come from what you see. It comes from what you think you saw, and what your mind starts filling in after. It's the sound that doesn't belong. The flicker of movement at the edge of the light. It's that heartbeat moment between realizing something's wrong and convincing yourself it isn't. That's where it lives, in the space between reason and panic. The highway has a way of playing tricks on you. The dark stretches longer than it should. The signs start to look unfamiliar. You check the clock, but time feels stuck, like you've been driving the same 5 minutes for an hour. That's when the questions start. Was that light ahead a gas station or just a reflection? Was that shadow by the trees a person or your eyes adjusting? You start to feel your pulse in your fingertips, your breathing getting slower, quieter, because somehow it feels like you shouldn't make a sound. That's the first step, subtle discomfort, the kind you can brush off. But then comes the second, the one detail that doesn't make sense. Maybe it's a road sign that shouldn't be there, or a car you pass that looks like it's been sitting there too long, engine off, headlights dim. Maybe you glance in the mirror and for a split second see someone sitting in your back seat. Until the next blink, you tell yourself it's nothing, but you don't look again. You can't. The trick is patience. Fear doesn't need to scream. It just needs to wait. The longer you let the silence sit, the louder everything else becomes. The creak of the steering column, the faint whistle of wind through the cracked window. Your mind starts listening for things that aren't there. And the moment you start listening, something always answers. Then the pattern breaks. The radio that's been humming low suddenly cuts off. The headlights flicker for half a second. The engine hesitates just enough to make your stomach drop. Every instinct in you says to keep driving, to not stop, to not look. But curiosity doesn't care about survival. You slow down, you check the mirror again, and that's when the suspense turns into something else, something colder. You realize that whatever is following you doesn't care if you see it. It's not hiding, it's waiting. Maybe it's in that car that appears in your mirror and disappears when you blink. Maybe it's the voice that slips through the static when the radio turns itself back on. Maybe it's closer. Suspense isn't about the monster jumping out of the dark. It's about knowing it's already there, just out of sight, just close enough to touch the edge of what you believe is safe. And when the silence stretches too long, when your body's begging to move but your mind's frozen, that's when you understand real fear. Not the kind that ends with a scream, but the kind that ends with a whisper in the dark saying your name. When the stories end, they don't really stop. They linger. They stay in the quiet corners of your mind, waiting for the next time you find yourself on a dark stretch of road. You'll remember the details you didn't want to believe. The sound of gravel under unseen footsteps, the way headlights can look like eyes, or how easy it is for the night to swallow a person whole. You'll tell yourself they were just stories, that none of it could ever happen to you. But deep down, you'll feel it, that tiny weight pressing in your chest when you pass through an empty highway at 2 a.m. and realize you haven't seen Anotha. Our car in miles. That's the thing about true stories. They never end with comfort. They end with the possibility that somewhere, right now, someone else is living through their own version of it. Someone out there is glancing into their rearview mirror, seeing something they can't explain. Someone is following a set of tire tracks that lead nowhere. Someone is hearing a knock on their window while they're parked on the shoulder, engine dead, no one around for miles. You can turn off the video, you can walk away, switch the lights back on, let the noise of the world drown out the quiet again. But the next time you're driving late at night, when the radio fades and the fog starts creeping along the edges of the road, your mind will drift back to these stories. The ones you thought you forgot. The ones that live in the pause between one breath and the next. Because the truth is, highways are more than just stretches of pavement. They're graveyards of memory. Every skid mark, every dented guardrail, every flicker of taillight disappearing into the dark, it's all a piece of something that happened to someone who thought they were safe. Some people never made it to their destination. Some did, but never the same. And maybe, just maybe, that's why when you drive alone at night, you sometimes feel that prickle at the back of your neck. That strange sense that something's keeping pace with you, just beyond the reach of your lights. You can't see it, you can't hear it, but it's there, watching, waiting for you to glance into the mirror just a little too long. So when you find yourself on an empty road and the darkness feels heavier than it should, remember this: not everything on the highway wants to share the road. Some things out there never stop traveling. Some never made it home, and some are still looking for someone to take their place. Drive safe, keep your doors locked. And whatever you do, if you see a lone figure standing at the edge of the road, don't stop, just keep driving. Because once you pull over, the story might start again, with you.